Hey guys, this is Crab Hunter, and welcome back to World of Tanks. Woo! And welcome to the Sherman Firefly review. Huzzah! Yes, I gave this thing a huzzah. Why? Because this thing is absolutely gorgeous. It's my absolute favourite British tank from the Second World War. Hush all of you who just said, but it's from an American tank. Yes, I realise we're using the American design here, but we've just improved it. We've made it much better. Scratch the paintwork, though I would personally go with the American paintwork, but that's besides the point. This is the Sherman Firefly. She is a British Tier 6 medium tank, as you can see there. She is the second, I would say, yeah, the second medium tank to be chosen along the new British line. Well, I say no, it's been in for a couple of patches now, but yeah, this is basically the latest choice on the matter. You either can choose now to go via the medium line to go towards the Challenger, or you can go along the light tank line to hit the TDs in order to reach said Challenger. So either way, you're getting somewhere. So yes, this is the Firefly. Absolutely gorgeous machine. A couple of you may have noted that I was also doing a little mini-series, Road to the Firefly, with Average Gaming. Unfortunately, he's no longer able to do this series. His internet has just gone completely to shit, thus denying him the ability to upload. So I thought, well, we've had this thing for a while. I really want to get on to review this thing, so I will upload those episodes whenever I can, and hopefully we can rendezvous with Average Gaming again one day. But for now, we must press onwards. So anyway, this is the Sherman Firefly review. Here we go. So, let's have a look at your hit points. You have 750. Yeah. Well, okay, the 750 isn't exactly the greatest amount of hit points a medium tank can have, but hell, you are a medium tank after all. But let's see how you fare in comparison to your counterparts. So let's start off with the Chinese. The Type 58, when fully upgraded, as I've done a bit of research onto this one, 750. So the exact same as the Type 58. Let's have a look. See, France does not have anything of that sort. The Germans have an interesting mix of vehicles, actually. First of all, the VK 300110 has 770 hit points when fully upgraded, so 20 better than you. Going over to the VK3002M, just stock, she's better than you by 10. Ow! That's pretty nasty. But when fully upgraded, her hit points go to a ridiculous 840 hit points. I mean, holy shit! That's a lot of hit points. Not gonna lie. But then again, this particular tank, the VK3001P, quite an oldie, as she's been around for quite some time, only has 710 when fully upgraded, so possibly the worst for hit points in the Tier 6 medium lineup. Oh dear. But I guess as she's a little old, maybe they might buff her, you never know. Going down the list to Britain, the Cromwell tank has the same amount of hit points as you, 750. Going to America, you will find a variation. First of all, the Easy 8 has 750, the same as you, and the Jumbo, when upgraded, has 770, but 730 at the beginning. The reason why I say this is because the armor upgrade is slightly worse when you upgrade to the top turret, so we'll go into that another time whenever I get an elite this vehicle, but it'll be interesting to see what variation is better. Going to Russia, you have a choice of either the T-34-85 or the A-43, of which the T-34-85, when upgraded, has 720 hit points, so not as good as you, which is kind of nice, 30 hit points lower than you. And the A-43 for Russia has 730, I believe, on this one, so both lower than you, not as much as with the A-43, but still lower than you in Tier 6. And finally, the Tier 6 Cheeto with the Japanese has, I believe, the same amount of hit points as the VK3002M, being at 840. So you're not very high when it comes to dealing with hit points, though I'd say you make a pretty okay-ish average. You know, it doesn't have as much hit points to spread around, so it can't take as much of a hit, but at the same time, you have some flexibility when it comes to engagements. Obviously, when you're low tier, be very careful, as most vehicles that you'll be engaging will have the capacity to drain half of your hit points, or God forbid, one-shot you if given the chance. So be cautious with you when utilizing this vehicle, as unfortunately it doesn't really have the ability to tank as much damage as you previously hope. I mean, I know it's a medium, but some mediums are better at tanking than others. This one, unfortunately, is not. Now, onto weight and engine power. You weigh 33.73 tons with 3 equipment modules attached, and you have a maximum tonnage limit of 36.1. This, in combination with your 460 horsepower, yeah! Let's have a look at your horsepower per ton. Do you actually have it? Yes. You have 13.64 horsepower per ton, which means you have 36 top speed kilometers per... Okay, she's not very fast. No, this thing is better suited when driving to drive with heavies, as A, you're about as fast as them, and B, you can work around to support them. And there's a number of reasons why this particular tank works better supporting heavies than it does with its mediums, which we will get onto later on. But no, the top speed is pretty decent for acceleration, though. I mean, yeah, it doesn't really go super fast, but you know, it does well enough to catch up with some of the heavies. Its traverse speed is actually pretty damn good, being at 40, which I do like. If a medium tank can't go fast, I do at least hope it can actually turn fast, which it can do. But yeah, there are times I kind of wish this thing was slightly faster. But given the fact that you've got a pretty awesome gun, which we will be going into, I don't really blame it. So, it could be faster. I wish it was slightly faster, but then again, it could then potentially be seen as OP. So, be aware of that when encountering multiple opponents, and note how fast you can get out of someplace. Otherwise, you may find yourself caught up in a rather nasty ambush, which then results in your tank being kaboomski. Now, onto armor. Remember when I said you shouldn't go engaging people when you're a low tier in a high tier match? Well, this is why. You only have 50 millimeters of armor to the front, 38 to the sides, 38 to the rear. That's very bad. It does get slightly better with a turret, only just. 76 to the front, 50 to the sides, 50 to the rear. I have not bounced a single object on this thing. That bad. Well, okay, let's make things a little fair. This thing, if you're an experienced world of tanker, you'll know exactly what kind of role this particular vehicle has on the field of battle. If you're not sure, basically this thing is a support tank. We'll be going into extra reasons why, but this thing just should not be on the front lines. It's not a brawler, it's not a flanker, it needs to stay back. It needs to ensure that its allies go in first before it goes into it. I mean, this doesn't mean, of course, that I've particularly done that role well, but generally speaking, the way that the armor works and the way that this thing drives just says, don't send me first, send me after the heavy tank. As it does a good job in that regard, but armor-wise, it's absolutely terrible. How bad, you say? Well, let's go on to Tank Inspector to find out. So, here we are on Tank Inspector. Here is the Sherman Firefly, and here are the Sherman Firefly armor values. Now, as usual, we'll go from the top to the bottom of the list. So, starting at the top of the list for armors is this remarkably oddly placed 89mm. They don't talk about it in the video game in this sense. And it's intriguing because it's actually higher than the highest rated armor on this tank. I was going to say in the game. That's very impressive then. Anyway, going to the actual bit of armor, which is reflected in-game by this little slab, which covers the commander's section, which is probably why it doesn't cover the poor gunner's section. You get this lovely little slab of armor here, and also on the gun mantlet. So not only do you have spaced armor of about 38mm, because that's so much, you also get 89mm of frontal armor on the space turret. So if you're on the spaced gun mantlet. So if you do end up being top tier in an engagement, you might be able to bounce with your turret. Now, I'm not saying it's the best idea to just rely on your turret, but it's an idea to rely on your turret. I'm not saying it. Just in a tier. If you're top tier, then maybe. Otherwise, don't.
It's very little armor for the front, and generally speaking, they can just go for your hull, so it's completely pointless. But there is that extra little bit of protection that you didn't know about beforehand. Going to the frontal part of your turret, you do have 76mm of armor, which only covers the front of your turret. It's very tiny at the top, but you do get 100mm of armor there, so if anyone does hit, it's most likely to penetrate, but you may be lucky and it might just ricochet off the top. So it's this part of the turret is not really an area to aim for on a Sherman. If it's the only thing you have to aim for, then I'd say aim on this section around here, or more preferably, just the turret itself, because if you've got a good gun, you can go straight through it. Going down the list to 64mm of armor, these bits of armor is actually reflective of the ammo racks that I was mentioning earlier. It also reflects a little section inside the frontal half of the side armor where the transmission cogs, I'm going to call them the axles. I'm not a very mechanically aware person. I am going to just say the main the frontal axles, maybe. I think that's what they're called. I apologize to any tank enthusiasts out there. Feel free to shout in the comments down below of how much of an inept idiot I am and the correct name for these things. So yes, these frontal... Actually, it's also reflected in game by this, I've just noticed. So, yeah, the spaced armor on the front covers this section as well, but it also highlights the ammunition rack plates on the side here, which will basically show... It does show you where your ammo racks are, unfortunately. So, be very careful when engaging people. Don't angle your armor. Never angle your armor. Apart from the fact that there's little to no armor there in general, don't angle it, because it's just... I mean, the only time I could ever say it's I think it's on an extreme angle like that, but it's very unlikely you're going to have that perfect angle, or the time to make it a perfect angle. So, basically, if you are to engage someone at the front, if you have to, well, just show your front to them, because they could potentially hit and ammo rack you, which is not good, because it instantly kills you, and it makes your game a lot worse. Going down the list, for some reason they've decided to make it 51mm of armor instead of 50. I don't know why, but that extra millimeter, I ain't complaining. So as it says in the game, surprisingly, it actually does what it does on the tin. The entire frontal hull armor is 50mm. Wow, there's actually a little lip here, which is... What is that? Oh, that's it. Okay, so surprisingly, there's a little lip, which if you can see where my crosshair is on this little tiny thing at the front. That apparently bounces stuff. Guaranteed bouncing area here. Remarkable. Anyway, so yeah, the frontal armor is 51mm, which has angling. Not bad angling, but angling. Sorry, not very good angling, I should say. But either way, it's not bad. It's just unfortunately not good enough to stop anything that goes towards it. Better on the higher, not so much on the lower. You won't bounce anything with this. It also covers the side of the turret as well, and the rear. So this tank, very predictable in its armor plating. It's very little armor, means not really good for engagements up close. Next, you have 45mm of armor, which for some reason this particular plate has to have. Though you're very unlikely to even notice that, unless you've noticed that bit, but that's pretty much it. That's the only extra special feature about this particular bit of armor that's worth mentioning. Going on to the side armors, also towards the rear, you actually get a little bit more side armor on the side here, as unfortunately also on the side of your commander's cupola. Although the commander's cupola on Shermans is always very small, so it's hardly worth even mentioning, it still is worth mentioning to a degree because it is 38mm of armor. Sadly, around your hot pots for ammunition racks, you do get 38mm of armor. And even in fact you get higher, you actually get a flat section on the back of your tank for the top of your tank for 38mm. So if artillery does land a shell along this particular area, you might as well just kiss your tank goodbye, because that's going to be an instant hit, an instant penetration, and insta-death. Or if you're extremely lucky, a very, very close to death. Anyway, going down the list, we get 25mm of armor, which is at the top of the two hatches, as well as the top of the turret. 19mm of armor on the two rear half sides of the tank towards the engine deck, and the engine deck having 13mm of armor plus around the area of the turret ring. Finally, 10mm of armor Not on those doors, but instead on those little tiny bits there. No, that's not even... Wait, those are 25 millimeters. GG. Oh, no, that's why. Yeah, it's selecting both of them. Okay, so the 10 millimeters of armor is... Oh, no, there it is. Found it. No, wait, that's the 13 millimeters. What's going on? Well, I can actually... You can see the little weird line there. That's the 10 millimeters of armor. Why did they do that? I don't know. Anyway, so... Armor-wise, this thing is atrocious for armor. I highly recommend you don't pursue any kind of charge towards someone unless A, you've got backup, B, you're guaranteed to ensure his death before he can do significant damage or any damage to you, or C, the game is pretty much over and you're going to have to commit. Either the game is over for you and you're going to die in a most glorious fashion, or the game is about to be won and you do want to get that little bit quick, but don't get yourself killed over it. Either way, it's not designed for actually tanking anything.
So, view range and signal range. What do you have? You have 360 view range and 550 signal range. Yeah, not so good. Well, let's have a little look in your comparison to your friends. Let's have a look-see. So let's start with the Chinese. So the Type 58, fully upgraded, has 370 signal range. For signal range, that would be hilarious. View range. And has 525 signal range. So better than you by view range, worse than you by signal. So not great. What about Germany? Let's start with the VK3001P. 370 view range, and my favorite radio, it's the FUG-12, which gives it 710. So yeah, Germany kicks your ass royally with the radio, only just beating you by the view range. And the view range, once again, is 10 meters better than you in the VK3002M, and would you look at that, a FUG-12, so that's another Tier 9 radio. Going to the VK3001M, do they have a hat trick? Yes, they do, 370 and a FUG-12. I love that radio, it's so good. Sorry. Okay, no, it's rad, it's a bad radio, it's German. Going to the Cromwell, you both have the same view range and the same radio, because that's good. Unfortunately. So, yeah, no real difference between you and the Cromwell when it comes to view range and signal range. Now, the Americans, let's see what they have. They have 370 view range, and it's a Tier 9 radio for America, which gives them 615 signal range. So America is kicking your ass. Oh dear, that's not a good thing to hear. The top turret for the Jumbo has the same view range, and of course he has the same top tier radio, which is 615, not top tier, tier 9, that's what I should say. So America beats you badly a little bit. Neparuski, please tell me that the Russians get bad view range. They do, thank the gods. 360, no, it's the same as you. Damn. 360 view range, but the radio is shit, being at 525, if you call 25 meters crap. And the A43 has the same view range with the same radio, so the Russians are just equal for you for view range and about worse for signal range. Now let's have a look at the Japanese with their very fancy pants tank. Their Chito has 360 range, the same as you, but they have access to a tier 10 radio. Right, well, okay, you know what this means. Well, okay, for view range, there isn't a major difference in view range, but you're not on the top, to say the least. So, unfortunately, you may need to spend some time not being super aggressive and not being the first on the front line, but and your signal range most definitely is not a good thing in my eye. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's not the end of the world, as hopefully most maps you're going to be on won't really impact on it. But the really, really huge maps might have an issue on the far corners. So, while it's not very good having a 550 radio, it's not the worst kind of radio you could have. But I'm definitely not saying it. You're not really great when it comes to view range and signal range. And now for my favorite part of any review, the gun. And this particular gun is pretty much what makes the Firefly for me. She is the reason why I love this beautiful tank so much. And also kind of what made this thing what it was, historically speaking as well. This thing. The 17-pounder Mark VII. You see, going on to a little historical note, the 17-pounder was one of the best best British gun of the Second World War. This thing had the capacity to engage German heavy tanks like the Tiger and tanks like the Panther at non-suicidal ranges. So naturally, you kind of want to fit one of these things onto a tank, thus making it a lot more mobile. But here's a snatch. It didn't fit the turret. So, usual British ingenuity, instead of trying to design a whole new tank around it, we just said, screw it, just turn the gun around a bit and slap on something else. So literally, that's what we did. We actually turned the gun, I believe, 90 degrees, so that it would we would be firing the gun upside down in the turret. But even then, as we just about was able to slip this thing into the turret, sounds a bit dirty, I know, but keep your, naughty. Instead, we still had to put a lovely little box on the side to weld in, because that's the only way we could fit a radio on board. I mean, it's just a great sign of British ingenuity that we just take a relatively okayish design and slap one of the best guns for the British Army and perhaps the Allied forces on the Western Front, and thus giving the M4 Sherman a much better edge against tanks like the Tiger and the Panther. Going into World of Tanks, I was quite worried about this particular tank. I was actually, because beforehand I've always been excited for a tank that is historical and very awesome, but ends up being nerfed to buggery or not so good as it could have been because of World of Tanks. For example, the Tiger with its L56, or, there's another one, the Panther being at tier 7. It was like, they've made it so not so good, so it's not enjoyable. But in fairness, they actually did pretty well with this, and they gave it some pretty balanced and very enjoyable stats. So let's have a look. 76.2mm for the 17-pounder, giving you a 12.77 rate of fire, which in reload terms is 3.97 seconds, which is damn good. You have a very, very nice 171 penetration on a standard, 239 with a premium. Let me just put that in perspective for you. The E75's gun, the standard penetration of 246, just about 7mm less than an E75's top gun. That's good. Certainly gives you an edge when encountering your opponents in tier 8 tanks. And better still, you get a very decent 150 average damage roll, or if you can, you know what RNG's like, it's so troll, it'd probably give you 110. But going to your dispersion, it has 0.38. I would say the only slight downside, but then again, it's not really a downside, is a 2.1 second aiming time. This gun is fantastic at this tier, and there's even another added benefit as well. If you've just grinded this British tank for the first time, you've not touched any of the British tank line, not only would you be getting the previous guns, which will unlock on a number of other tanks as well. I believe, is this what? No, that's just the Sherman Firefly. That's also just for the Sherman. Okay, so it's only the Top Gun that unlocks it. Fair enough. Yeah, the Top Gun unlocks the Top Gun 4, the Black Prince at tier 7, the Centurion at tier 8, and the Carnarvon at tier 8 as well. The Centurion isn't its top gun, but still, that's fantastic. So when, of course, you're grinding through said vehicles, like I wish I had the bloody 17-pounder when I was grinding through the Centurion, it does make the grind a lot less stressful. And if you're going to go up the British heavy line, which at some point I think I'll have to, I'll automatically be having the 17-pounder Top Gun on the Black Prince, which means all I have to do then is just research the treads and boom, I can instantly start researching the Carnarvon. That is super freaking handy. This is a very good gun for this tank, and I think it is what makes it awesome. But going back to its role as a support tank, this thing is very good for this. The gun that this thing has just confirms that this thing is a supportive tank. It really cannot do close-up engagements. I mean, it can do thanks to its pen, because, well, it can do, its pen makes it easier in close-up engagements, but you know, its rate of fire isn't quick and snappy enough to get the shots down range, but, you know, its damage, longer range. At tier 6, this thing is a very potent threat. Hell, even at tier 7, it's still a potent threat. So that's why I love this thing. It's this particularly fantastic gun. Now, on to crew skills and equipment. This is basically where I talk to you guys about what equipment to make your tank epic and what makes your crew awesome. Let's go off with equipment first. First of all, vents and rammer, no question. Third choice. Now, actually, I've kind of got a bit of a mandatory choice. As every other choice, while it's okay, I would really say that the vertical stabilizer Mark 1 is the way to go. Because, okay, it only gives you extra 20% during movement and rotation, but as this thing does, unfortunately, as you know, in World of Tanks, the games don't exactly last very long, and there are obviously going to be moments where, and there have been moments where, I have been, whilst positioning myself to do a little bit of medium to long range engagements, all of a sudden a light or medium tank just bursts out of nowhere, and I've found with this particular gun, the vertical stabilizer is most certainly a useful feature to have. So on this particular occasion, I will say that you need the vertical stabilizer on this tank. I mean, always, as I say beforehand though, it's your choice, but I found that I've performed above and beyond the Call of Duty thanks to this vertical stabilizer. I mean, binocular telescope, okay, you don't really need an enhanced gun lane drive for this, and if you're a bit terrified of artillery, there may be a spore liner, but I wouldn't any of those that you prefer. Unless it's a vertical stabilizer, I don't think any of these particular upgrades will complement your tank. It'll probably make it slightly better, but the vertical stabilizer perfects it. So, majorly, I would highly recommend the vertical stabilizer. Going on to crew. Now, I haven't actually fully trained up my crew, but I would recommend what you would need to get anyway. Let's have a look-see. So, for your... Airgrim, okay. For your crew, you will need to give your commander, obviously, Sixth Sense. Afterwards, you give him, well, pretty much whatever the hell you want. But yeah, generally, Sixth Sense on him. The second one, I would say Snapshot, because it allows you to utilize the skill with the vertical stabilizer and improves accuracy during said turret rotation, so major bonuses. Afterwards, I would highly recommend either Designated Target or Deadeye, as you can then utilize your APCR as well as AP shells to do more damage to your opponent. Driver, I would actually, instead of recommending my usual clutch braking, I would recommend you go with off-road driving. This reduces ground resistance and when driving on soft and moderately soft terrain, which generally means it improves your acceleration capacity and also potentially your top speed when driving on grass or mud or dirt or tracks or anything like that, just so that way you can move slightly more than it used to. For your loader, which also acts as your signal operator, that's a very impressive name, radio operator, I would recommend you use situational awareness, as your your not so great, 360 view range can be a bit of a disadvantage. Though once you've got that to 100%, I would also then recommend you get signal boosting, as this will allow you to increase your signal range as well. Afterwards, I'd say Adrenaline Rush as a perk, so that way then you can utilize a much faster reload should you take a few hits and you're on less than 10% of hit points. Okay, so that's all the talking side of this review done. Let's get into the field with a few replays and some battles. And here we are for the first game in the review. Now, unfortunately, I had intended on making 2 replays, but sadly, the first replay I had in mind was from a previous version of World of Tanks, thus forcing me to have to opt for a live battle. And we are in a I'm a top tier actually, so penetration-wise, I can pen nearly everything. The only thing I'll have trouble with is possibly the T150, and most definitely the 88. So anyway, it's a standard match on Redshire. And as you can see automatically, I am not catching up to that T67, nor the T34, nor the Panzer IV. In fact, I'm probably only just outrunning that Churchill 3. Another thing to note with this tank is its elevation is pretty good, being at about a decent 30 degrees. Its gun depression, though, not so much. Not really what I would say is the best amount of gun depression, but
not bad regardless. Oh, hello, everyone's going to the hill. I really should have opted for another place. I was too busy talking. Pull back if you can. KV-1S sighted. Will relocate to try and assist. But that ELC has gone a bit too far. Enemy Cromwell has been sighted. Long range engagement. First shot hits, and it's an average roll. Churchill 3. Cromwell. They were going a little bit too slow. Yeah, we're all bunching up. Right, let's try and see what we can do. Oh, T-150. Problem is that all of our guys are camping over there. Right, I'll do what I can to support those guys. Cromwell is withdrawing. ELC is doing his best to withdraw. Also, no, his best to spot. Hopefully he can not get killed. Chaffee Tank's going to try his luck a bit, will he? No. I'm in position. Miss. Right, I'm going to have to go silent for a few moments just so I can guarantee. It's him. Ah, high roll, but not enough roll. Cromwell's moving into position. Telegraphs his location. There you are. Nope. You see here, this is where the depression of the Cromwell does kind of suck a bit. Oh, there's an SE-100. They're all going for this guy. They are not going to stop. So he's just okay, that's a bad example of wanting to get a kill. And of course I have to miss. Oh shit, pull back. No, 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 fucking hell, that was close. Right, sod that for a packet of chips. I'm out. Bye-bye. Right. Anyway, like I was saying, that's a very bad example of a kill. He basically telegraphed his position, went for a cheap kill, and basically tunnel visioned like a motherfucker on the ELC, completely disregarding the fact that he was likely to be shot at from multiple areas. That is basically a good example of not really being aware of your map. Right, we've got 2 Matildas. Unfortunately, we've just lost... Nope, the Cromwell has made it. Our team is very much camping, and now there's a good reason why to camp, unfortunately. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but on this occasion, since the Togs are very slow, we need to hammer as much shells into them, because they will pump a lot of crap in. Even if we just make it down to 1, which we are doing, this is how you should not Tog. Tog is great. Tog is king. Tog should not do this, though. And now this is what a 17-pounder should do. Fast rate of fire. Big, fat, moving target. Slap this bastard down. And he's dead. Right, focus on the 88, as then we can kill him. He's the strongest armoured unit in the game at the moment, and he needs to die. That's why I'm going to use my premium shells to guarantee penetration, because he is too much of a threat. Of course I bounce. And he's dead, so never mind. Reload my standards. Just take my time. Fire. Bounce. He's dead. Grant. Bad tank. Nearly got the kill. Didn't unfortunately get it. He's dead. Unfortunately, this is the downside of having... the enemy are just walking towards us. Let them die. Wow, this guy is suicidal. He's tunnel visioning. No, he knows he's screwed, but... Right, I want to see where that KV-1S is, though. Like, there he is. But I want to see where the KV-1S is. Cromwell being aggressive. There's the KV-1S. Nick it! Yes, there you go. He's gone. It's a little kill for me. Being aggressive. Grant gets a kill. Impressively, he gets a kill. But the Cromwell gets killed himself. There's the T-40. Nearly hits. Unluckily, no. Though not. Chaffee. Oh, sorry. Chaffee is not Chaffee. T-40 is still... language. Work. The Grant is about to get killed. Chaffee is incredibly low on hit points. But he gets a kill. There's the Grant. I'm going to chase him. Chaffee! Because I'm Chaffee Chapalon. If you feel like a Grant about to die. Because I'm Chaffee. I would want to ram him, but to be honest with you, I'd rather get the kill. No, no! Not kill! No! Mini! Bad Cromwell! Bad Cromwell! Mini. Okay, so that wasn't... Well, okay, that was a pretty okay-ish game. Not my best, in all honesty. Not the best kind of engagement. Didn't get too much in the sense of damage and experience, unfortunately. Kudos to the Cromwell player. He certainly was a ballsy bugger. I took a bit too many hits up for my liking, but that said, not bad. Unfortunately, the game kind of descended from, you know, people just bull rushing to, well, just basically one team camped a little bit too much, and the other team, well, basically was fed kills. But regards to the SU-100, bad example, you know, that's a bad case of tunnel visioning onto an ELC. Yes, he got our ELC driver, but in the process, he killed himself for 171 damage. That is a very bad use of an SU-100. I do need to come up with something. Ah, ha, ha, you bastard MX-40. Still sucks. I still hate that thing, guys. Come on. Anyway, let's actually take you to a proper replay, whereupon this thing is shown in its most glorious fashion. And here we are for the second and last game of the Firefly review. I am in my Firefly, of course, on highway, in a platoon with Bidenwar from Priest of Ololol and his friend Nedna. And we are in a tier 7 game, so very much low tier, with for some reason a platoon of tier 5s, which isn't actually fail platooning. Unfortunately, it's just extremely bad matchmaking on their part. So, the game starts with myself, Nedna, and Bidenwar in his VK3002M, charging our way towards the 1-2 line along the 1-2 line towards A, B, as normally as mediums we are kind of the tanks to basically go for. And Biden, in this case, is prudently destroying the cover around the cap in case our forces can't, in case our forces end up getting, you know, our base ends up getting captured. And the game starts off pretty averagely. All the heavy tanks are rushing towards the town to try and duke it out, and all of the faster, or TDs, are heading towards the 1-2 line. So far, a pretty good grouping of tanks. As for some reason, surprisingly, despite being a very slow medium, I end up being pretty much the first there. I hesitate a little bit on the hill, as unfortunately they've got a fair amount of TDs and one-shot killermathons like the KV-2. So now I wait for Bidenwar to arrive. I get into a somewhat campy position behind a bush, anticipating stuff. ARL gets spotted going into the town. I keep my eyes peeled for any tree loss, when all of a sudden a T-67 approaches and gets a shot into Biden. Biden gets into cover. We're trying to see if we can scan the horizon. Nedna arriving behind me. Biden destroying a bit of cover, when all of a sudden someone fires a 217 round, which would indicate a Tiger tank or something with a 88mm was there. So very fortuitously, I was not spotted. Just keep my eyes peeled. A little bit of tunnel visioning here, a little bit. I wasn't too paying attention, but luckily no one's moving up at the moment. Biden is trying to help spot the T-67 for us. Kind of grouped up at the moment. Very fortuitously, we didn't actually have artillery in this game, otherwise it could have been quite dangerous. So the Su-85 and the T-67 decides to push down towards to a support Biden. And still no sign of that T-67. Ah, there's the T-67. He's been spotted. Trying to get in. He gets a shot. The Su-85 and the T-67 charge. T-67 very low on hit points. So far we've been able to win a back to kill. And there's the T-150. So Nedna and I rush down to assist. The Su-85 YOLOs himself into the T-150. I try and shoot, but unfortunately not luckily enough. And Bidden gets the kill on the T-67. Now, of course, we have to focus fire on the T-150. He claims our T-67. I take my time. Bidden gets in my way a bit. But as we're slowly starting to pull back, we just need that T-150 to go through. I fire to destroy the cover, hoping to hit the T-150. So Nedner in his T-3485 moves into position. He's recently gotten into auto tank, so making that little bit of a mistake whilst aiming on buildings. That is a bit of a pain, so just remember to aim down your sights whilst engaging. He bounces. So the battle in the town, unfortunately, if you're paying attention to the minimap, is not going too well. Take note of this. Anyway, back to the action on this side. So I decide to make a bit of a ballsy move. I move up, I fire on the move, he fires and misses. I track him. For some reason that shell didn't go anywhere, but I've got his attention now. I try and side scrape. But luckily he's not paying attention, but I'm a little slow. Can I do it? But then an SU-152 appears, and I get the kill. And there's an SU-152 with the derp gun. And I don't believe Bidden got damaged. No, he is an incredibly lucky bastard. But the town is still being killed, so we need to get back to it at some point. The SU-100 M1 is going into it. I'm moving to spot the SU-152. I'm telling Bidden, don't go too forwards. I'm going to try and spot for him. I'm looking around, trying to see if I can get into position. Nedner is in a position to get shots in as well. SU-152. Bidden tries to get the SU-152 attention, so he faces him. So I move up, trying to get a shot in, and the SU-152 rolls into my shot. I back off because I'm scared shitless at this point. I don't pay attention to where I'm reversing, and now we have just lost the town, so we really need to kill this bastard. Come on, come on. Oh my Jesus Christ, I bounced something. What the fudge? Alright, let's move. Damn it. Okay, we've just... God has just praised us. Stalinium has not worked this day, so now let's kill him before he reloads. Quickly, quickly fire. This is going to get tense. Can I kill him before the SU-152 reloads? Oh, thank the heavens. Right, okay. Get back to base. Nedner arrives, only to find that we have to get back. He then gets luckily dodged, even though we didn't notice at the time. Someone actually tried to shoot at him there. What was the bounce on that? So I bounced, oh, you can see, all across that big shell. So I luckily was able to bounce that. So anyway, Bidden Warren is much faster VK, decides to push up towards the base. The SU-100 M1 is still there, luckily alive, but it could go any ways now. The enemy team taking a remarkably long time to move, though that said, not many of their vehicles are fast, so... But it won't be long before the onslaught appears. I load premium shells because at this point of the game, it doesn't matter. It's literally, I need to hit and penetrate and do damage, otherwise it could cost us the game. So, at this point, Bidden is telling us where to go, what plans we should do. One person needs to stay at least up on the highlands. Then the KV-3 is spotted. No sightlines as of yet. Bidden War decides to push down towards the town, towards the cap, to ensure that he can get shots in on people. I move up towards Bidden. And then the Tiger P appears. A low roll from Bidden. I fire on the move. It does not successfully penetrate or hit. Bidden gets the kill on the KV-3. The Tiger tank staying in his position. I don't quite have a shot, but thanks to premium shells, I'm able to hit and pen. Another penetration, just a few millimeters up. Tiger P is aiming. I hit and penetrate once again. Unfortunately, Bidden taking a lot of aggression here, and oh, I'm getting shots right through. And of course, I bounced that shot. But luckily, the SU-100 M1 is able to kill the Tiger P, so that's 2 enemy tanks down. Oh shit, that was a KV-2. No, that was a Wolverine with a 105mm derp. And he did hit me. Actually, no, my apologies, that might not have been a derp. That would have been a KV-2. Anyway, ARL decides to show up. I fire, naturally missing. reacquire, take my time, fire again. Try and spot the guy. Hit. Nope. And underglacial shots. Perfect, except I wanted him to have an over-average shot. And finally, get the kill stroke. Enemy Tiger approaches. Holy crap, I'm close. Right. Pretty much thinking I'm dead. I'm thinking, right, let's get him. Oh, praise the Emperor. He's dead. Oh, Jesus Christ, an IS. But then Bidden is killed. Oh dear, that means it's still very much possible for us to die now. Losing confidence at this point. I will tell you one thing, when it comes to pressure situations, I'm not good at them. You can tell I'm starting to panic. Sort of keeping my eyes over my back, trying to reacquire for a target, not really sure what to do. Looking forwards, and Edna. Bidden sort of giving us instructions on how to do it. Okay, but Edna, Crap Hunter, move up to the top of the hill. So I'm like, right, here we go, here we go, here we go. You can tell by my mouse movements I'm starting to panic here. Like, I was... well, no, at this point I was concerned. Like, you know, heartbeat was starting to race. And there's the VK with a KV-2. So that's all of their tanks now spotted. So now it's a matter of, let's see if we can get these guys. So the VK decides to charge up the hill. Bit of a mistake for the VK. As he climbs to the top of the hill. He's got the 88. But guess what? Oh, first shell goes in, and he stays to try and get a shot in, taking his time to aim. I think he was tracked at this point. Yeah, I think he was tracked, which is why he couldn't move. Don't know why it didn't show in the replay, but never mind. And bang, Amarak. So KV-2 moves into position, but the SE-100 gets the kill. Yeah, I don't know why it didn't show. Was it Amarak? Oh shit, the IS tank. Now, there's the IS. I fire. Clutch shot. I didn't intend to do that, but unfortunately that gives him a side. I've panicked now. Ah! I'm hit. And so at this point, I am really starting to panic. It's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh god. And then I make a mistake here. Instead of charging towards it, because at this point I didn't actually realize I had 5 kills. At this point, I was just too cowardly. And then Nedna gets the kill, whereupon then it ends the game. So, very, very nice clutch game for us there. Carrying like a troop, all 3 of us getting a fair amount of kills. Myself getting the most, but Nedna and Bidden War getting 2 in total. But yeah, so looking back on this replay, I'll be honest with you, I know I could have done better at the last part of the game. I could have perhaps, instead of, I could have actually gone off, taken a hit, and basically gone round to flank, but at that point my heart rate was going all crazy like, and I've still yet to master how to control yourself when in that position. Anyway, let's get to the results of that replay. So, a glorious victory for the Sherman Firefly. Nothing too special, well, nothing actually at all on the right-hand side for awards-wise, but I did get my Mastery Badge Ace Tanker, a Demo Expert, a Fire for Effect, a Fighter, and a Bruiser. Nothing really special about these 3 awards. I mean, yeah, it's nice to get a Fighter because it means you almost got a Top Gun, whereas I do enjoy getting these ones. It's annoying that you can only get 1 per battle. I think they should reset it so it's however many per battle, because I honestly think an ammo rack is rare enough in a game to ensure that if someone is lucky enough to get it more than once, they should get an award for that, because that's rare. But anyway, so a very good game. Got 1,813 experience, undoubled. And I originally was paid 39,000 credits for it, but because I used premium, I only got 12. So what happens when you use premium? It does cost you. Going to experience, I got the most experience out of that game. Just probably because I was a tier 6. The SU-100 M1 got a high caliber. Kudos to him. He did do a damn good job holding onto the base, so well done to you, mate. Bidden, unfortunately, despite getting killed, did do a fair amount of damage, getting 1,877 and getting 1,000 experience in turn. Also, Nedna didn't get too much damage in, but he was still quite new to the T-34-85. But he did get 702 experience for helping us carry the game and win a glorious victory over our opponents. So yeah, so let's go to the garage, whereupon we'll finish the review. So, the Sherman Firefly. Summary time. This tank is fantastic. It's one of my favourite tier 6 tanks in World of Tanks. And that's saying something. Now, I'm not saying this just because it's a particular favourite of mine in historical sense, and also because I'm British. It's not that at all. It's because this tank has a lot going for it, and its ability within the battlefield. There are downsides, of course. It's not really got a good radio. Its speed is not that great, and its armor is absolutely pants. But if utilized correctly with this gun, it can devastate most, if not all, tier 6 games it goes into. It literally, if working properly, and if the situation is right, i.e. you've got a good team around you and you can hammer the point home, this thing is absolutely fantastic at engaging opponents. It's just, such a good tank with its gun. It's high rate of fire, high penetration, high alpha for a 76mm gun, mind. Good accuracy, or great accuracy, and a 2.1 second aiming time means that tier 6 heavies have really got to be careful as they're driving around, as they could get hammered to death. If you have multiple Fireflies, they could be hammered to death before they even realize what's going on. Which is why I would also make a suggestion for anyone who is doing clans or team skirmishes to definitely consider taking this particular vehicle up if they enjoy a supportive role with a medium speed, as this tank, I would say, does the job. I mean, if you're in a team or a group or clan or something like that who does that, I'd say this is good because it's a cheap enough tank. The 76mm gun with high enough penetration would guarantee on more than one occasion you being able to take on heavier tanks like a KV-85, T-150, KV-2s, all the stuff that they might try and bring into a tier 6 skirmish match, which could give your team a major advantage, as one or at least two of these particular vehicles would be able to completely rip the enemy to shreds, thus giving you a very nice win. So anyway, guys, this is it for the review. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this kind of content, do let me know in the comments section down below, clicking on the like button, and of course subscribing to the channel. If you yourself are a YouTuber, a World of Tanks player, or a YouTuber who does World of Tanks, feel free to let me know in the comments section down below if you think there's anything I can do to improve the video, make it snazzier, make the other stuff cool, anything like that at all. Feel free to let me know in the comments section down below. Thank you very much for watching this, guys. Have a good one. This is Crap Hunter signing out.